Hey folks, it's Gavin here again from Sovereign Empowerment. Second video of a series of 5 that we're going to bring out. And if you watch the introductory video on this channel, you'll know that Sovereign Empowerment is not just about legal remedy. It's about remedy in general for all of us that are going through this, I guess, awakening journey, for want of a better word. And Angela here saw that video and she reached out, which is brilliant. And this is why we're now doing this recording. Now, to give an introduction to Angela, she would best be described as a professional transformational coach. She's an ex-ballroom dancing teacher. That's her background. She's gone through quite a few different things. And she's actually coming back into the profession of coaching because of this moment in time that we're going through. And I can say this from my own experience, my own heart, in that, you know, when I really had that kind of awakening kind of moment and you start to realize, you know, really what's going on, things are just lies, and, you know, the reality we thought was reality is not a reality at all. It's a really tough experience to go through. And it's not like we can just go on Amazon and buy a book or something and, you know, oh, there's the solution to the problems. It's a very lonely, isolating experience. And I know from the folks that I'm talking to, it's difficult to deal with. You know, sometimes you just want to talk to somebody to share that experience. So this is why Angela's kind of coming back to the profession to help people navigate that experience of what they're going through. And with that said, Angela, please introduce yourself. Let us know what it's all about. And let's talk about a little bit about, I guess, what it is we're going through in that moment in time. If you're just watching this right now and you've literally just realized what's going on, I can imagine your mind must be in turmoil. Your emotions must be quite, you know, all over the place. Family may be distancing themselves, all these different things. We're the ones that are crazy when we know we're not. That's a lot to deal with. So, Angela, over to you.
Thanks, Gavin. Well, everything you said is completely and utterly, you know, 100% true. And I think at the moment, most people are living in fear and uncertainty because uncertainty is everywhere, isn't it, around us? And every single day, I don't watch the news, but my husband does. And every single day it's fear, 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 you know, climate change, food shortage, you know, the world's coming to an end, the wars, this, that, and the other. It's just constant. There's no let up. And I think one thing people don't realize is that, you know, when we watch TV for a few moments, our brain waves actually slow down and we go into like a semi-hypnotic state, if you like. You know, our brain waves go from, most of the time we're in, like you and I are in now, beta brainwave, the level of the frequency of the way that the brain waves are moving. But when we go into the alpha state where just your brain waves have slowed a little bit, there's no filter, and the things that we're hearing will go straight into our subconscious mind, and then they become our beliefs. So if you really examine your beliefs, you'll probably find that most of the beliefs that you've had for years are not really even yours. Where did you get them? You know, it's from society and our upbringing and parents and so on. And so I think most people are really navigating massive fear. I think as well, because I think we spoke about before, Gavin, that I was aware of the medical scams, shall we say. I was not aware of the banking scams and all of everything else that goes with that. That's been a huge awakening for me. And so whilst I probably accepted it quite readily because I was already aware from 2007 about the medical scams, it was still, you know, at loggerheads with certain family members and friends because they have a completely different view. They're totally bought into what they're hearing on the news. And I think we can feel rejection from friends and family members. They can cut us off even because they don't agree with our views. And there's a whole host of things. But ultimately, I think it's about fear of the unknown. And in my experience of people over many, many years, and I've had a lot, you know, most people like certainty. They like to know what's going to happen. They like to be in control. And that is one thing we are totally not at the moment, or we feel we're not in control, we don't know what the heck's going to happen. And it creates fear and anxiety. And those feelings, you know, over a long period of time are very unhealthy. They can create disease over a period of time. And so I think it's really important to look at your emotions. What are you actually feeling? What are you going through? To sit down with a piece of paper, somewhere quiet in the garden on your own, and really ask yourself, what is going on at the moment? What am I going through? And when we can get some kind of clarity, just jot a few things down and look at it. That's a real starting point, because awareness is the key to everything. If we haven't got that awareness, if we don't know what we're thinking, if we don't know what we're frightened of, we're oblivious to it, we can't fix it. But once we get some clarity on what's going on, we can then start to put practices and measures in place to deal with it and make ourselves feel better.
Is that a case of, you know, when you're suffering from anxiety and fear, it's kind of irrational, isn't it? Like, you know,
yes,
there's a problem, but you can't quite put your finger on why it is, because I think, to your point, a lot of this is subconscious, a lot of this is habitual, and we don't even know what's causing it. So by writing things down, is that kind of triggering the conscious mind to then become aware of the situation, so that we can actually start taking practical steps to solve the problem?
Exactly, because I think it's, you know, by the time we're about 35 years old, according to neuroscience, we are a set of beliefs and ingrained habits. So even though we probably think we think quite a lot, we really don't. Our life is mostly run on our autopilot. And some of those things are necessary, like we don't have to think, I need to put my foot on the floor, I need to move my leg, you know. Some of the things that are obviously necessary, but what isn't so good is that beliefs and things that we hear that are scaring us, actually, you know, if we're in that receptive state, will go into the subconscious and they become our beliefs, and our beliefs create our perception of the world, of reality. And then, of course, if we delve a bit deeper into metaphysics and things like, you know, the law of attraction, I don't like that term, but people know that. You know, that is what becomes our reality down the line, because our dominant thoughts create our feelings create the frequency we're putting out there, and then that at some point, most of the time, will show up in our life. And the fact that, you know, we have about 70,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And studies have shown that 90% of those thoughts are the same every day. So if every day you're feeding yourself fear from the news, and what am I going to do? I can't pay this. Help. You know, you're just feeding yourself constantly negative beliefs, fears, and it's going to affect massively the way you feel.
And not only that, I find that if you're in that sort of state and it's a low level vibration, which is essentially the purpose of the matrix that we're exiting, that's the reason we're waking up, right? You mentioned TV programs, it's programming that reality that we believe is real, that we're now realizing isn't. So when you're in that sort of negative vibrational state, you're making decisions in that state, and those decisions they kind of have practical, real outcomes, right? So if I look at the folks that we can, I'm not saying all of them, but certainly some of those that we're helping with their debt matters, they're in such a state of anxiety and stress and fear because of the unknown. But what I always say to them is that you're driving that. You're actually putting energy into something that often hasn't even happened yet. And actually the real trick to solving that, or removing or starting to change that energy, is just being accurate with regards to, well, what is the reality of the situation right now? What is it that can or can't be done? What are the outcomes of this? And when you and I think that's what you were saying with regards to writing things down, because you start to use, I mean, this is where the left brain part comes into play, where you're removing the emotion of it and you're becoming accurate as to what's really going on. And I think that's when you get clarity as to what is it you need to do. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I also see it that if you're waking up right now, depending on where you're at in that journey, this is what you've got to go through. And this is one of the things you've got to actually deal with and solve. It's breaking from the energy of the matrix and becoming who you truly are as a sovereign being. Standing in our, we say it's like standing in your truth, but it's all well and good standing in truth. What the hell does that even mean? How do I even do that when I'm bloody scared shitless at the moment? You know? So how would you, you know, I know you do this in the coaching sessions and we'll talk about what the offering soon, but for somebody in that state of mind where they are in that fear, where they can't really get out of it, you know, it's just consuming them. What's your sort of first practical step after, say, writing things down, if you're helping them to start making moves to get away from it? What do you do there?
Once they've got, you know, even just a list of what's going on, then we'll take each. So we say they write down 5 things of what they're really scared of, what they're really worried about, and we'll take those sentences one by one, and we'll look at it and start asking questions like, is this true? Is this absolutely true? Are you okay in this moment? Because fear, you know, real fears are something like, the brain will keep us from, stepping out in front of a bus or walking off a cliff. Those fears are meant to keep us safe. Fear is actually really to keep us safe. Anxiety, on the other hand, is created by projecting our thoughts into the future and what's going to happen. Oh my God. And most people, you know, when I do it, I'm sure you do it, Gavin, we think of the worst case scenario. And then we imagine that, and then that sets off the cortisol, the adrenaline. We have this hideous knot in our stomach. We feel sick, and we just can't. Then it starts looping with the thoughts in your mind, and you can't get out of it. And so, you know, a good tip is to actually, what I do is I go outside, no matter the weather. I will take my shoes off, put my feet on the wet grass, and there's usually wet grass in the UK, isn't there? And sit there for a few moments and breathe. Because when we take deep breaths, our brain waves will slow down. And we are, you know, sovereign beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, even though most people think, oh, I taught it's the other way around. And we're taught that obviously for a reason too. But when we really realize how powerful we are and how valuable we are and what we have to offer, we realize that we're not meant to be living in this stress and strife every single day. It's not what we're here to do. It's not how we're here to live. And when we start to value ourselves, we then start to treat ourselves differently. Most people speak to themselves in the most horrendous way, but you wouldn't speak to a friend like that or a relative like that. So you have to really start caring for yourself the way you would care for somebody that you love. And speaking to yourself like, you know, people say things like, I'm an idiot, I'm a fool, nothing goes right for me, you know, everything I do turns to rubbish. And we're constantly feeding ourselves that kind of information. And then, yes, the chances are it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we have to change that dialogue that's going on in the mind. And the mind is very powerful. It's a brilliant servant, but it's a terrible master. And if you allow it to run riot, your life, your thoughts, your feelings are going to be chaotic. But the first step as well as getting the awareness, is actually believing that you do have control over your mind. You do have control over your thoughts. And I'm not saying it's easy. It takes work and commitment, but it's so worth it, and it's doable. And it's doable for everyone if you're willing to put a little bit of work in to change that.
I think that's a really good point that you've just said there at the end, because, you know, our consciousness is not our thoughts or our feelings. Our thoughts and our feelings are a byproduct of all the stuff you've just been talking about.
Absolutely.
And so it comes to sort of one thing that's, for me, quite simple, is that you have choice. We have a choice. We have a choice on how we feel. And I'm not saying that we can choose one day to just be happy. You know, it doesn't work that way, because if you're in a really negative state, that fear, anxiety state, and that's a day-to-day living experience, then that's going to take some work to break away from that,
Yes.
because as you've said, you've got to rewire those habitual patterns in your mind.
You
But
do.
I believe it's, if this is wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, sorry. It takes around 4 weeks or something to remove a habit and replace with a positive habit.
Well, they used to say 30 days, Gavin. That some of the neuroscientists are now saying 56. But I know from experience, if you do something every day for 30 days, it becomes so much easier. And eventually, you know, what we want to do is all the bad habits that we've created with all the fear and negative self-talk and all of that, what we want to do is like tell ourselves good things, positive things. I'm going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to work out. I don't know how, but I know that it will. Trust in yourself. Trust in the people that are guiding you. Trust in the universe, you know. And once you start having those kinds of beliefs, then ultimately, if you repeat something over and over and over again, then that becomes a belief. It becomes a subconscious belief. And then when you're acting from that place, you'll find that things are very, very different for you. Your outside world, excuse me, begins to reflect what you're feeling on the inside. But it is an inside job.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's almost like if you're in that sort of anxiety, fear-based kind of construct right now, you know, we've already just discussed how that kind of manifests into your reality. But equally, you know, changing that is the same sort of thing. It's just shifting the energy. Like the way I look at that, in any given situation, in any given day, if you can choose whether you feel crap about it or whether you feel good about it, well, because it's not happened yet, you know,
Yes.
making the choice, well, why not just put it into the good energy and good things happening? And like, so rather than sort of like projecting this future bad event based on what you think is going to happen and then manifesting it, why not sort of project and imagine a positive future where things are great? Because one of the things I can say from my own experience is that, and I do that actually every day, I meditate and I visualize what I want for the future. And I kind of find that you start to take action towards the things you're visualizing for the future, and then when the bad stuff comes in, it doesn't affect you because it's not relevant to where you're going in your future. And that comes back to then having the choice to allow that to have power or not, as the case may be.
Absolutely.
And I know that's easier said than done, but it is a journey, isn't it?
It is a journey. And it's, you know, I've been on this journey for well over 30 years, Gavin, and every day I have, you know, affirmations, I meditate for a certain amount, I sit in silence. I think that is so important. Yeah, because most people go from, you know, the TV on in the morning to getting in the car, the radio, getting to work, noise, and the same thing when you get home. And the brain actually craves silence, believe it or not, because we cannot think clearly when there's all this other noise going on. And another thing I discovered recently is that, you know, most of the music that we listen to is sort of coded with a frequency that's really 440.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that is going to make us feel 100 times worse. And so I'm doing a lot of research on the 528 frequency at the moment. Yeah. And I've been listening, you know, even yesterday I was coaching somebody and I had the 528 music playing low in the background. And it affects the heart. It affects how you feel. But it's subtle. You don't realize it. But once we wake up and become aware of all the things that we can do to help ourselves and to empower ourselves, little things implementing every day ultimately make a huge difference. But it's taking those first baby steps and getting yourself on that right road, you know, and really, as I said before, awareness is the key. And it's, you know, all my beliefs about the country and being proud of being British and all the things I believed my whole life have been smashed to smithereens recently. And it's sad. I felt a sort of loss, and everything that I believed was rubbish. It wasn't true. And that's, it made me really sad. You know,
it's that loss of identity, isn't it? Or what you know, and it's a powerful thing to lose, because I've gone through it. You kind of get to that point of like, well, who the hell am I then? You know, because
Yeah.
as you said earlier on, a lot of the things that happen in life define who we are, how we approach the world, how we approach life. But when you've got to that realization that, hang on a minute, everything's been a lie, it's been a made up construct.
Yeah.
So who am I then? How am I? Do you know what I mean? And I've struggled with that a lot. And that's why I'm enjoying our conversations, actually, because it does help me come to some conclusions with it. But so I think just to kind of bring this to a conclusion, guys, if you're, and you know if you're awake, right? You know what I mean by that. And you know if you're going through the things that we've been talking about. If you want somebody to talk to, if you want some understanding of what it is you're going through, or where do I even start? How do I start fixing this thing and changing who I am to become who you're meant to be at this moment in time? Because when you do stand in your truth, it's a really powerful thing to do. Because at this moment in time, guys, we do have all the power, and that's what they're trying to prevent happening. That's why they're in fear. So you kind of owe it to yourself now, and owe it to your future self and your family, whatever your purpose is right now, to start making these changes. Because if we don't do that, we're just giving them what they want, and that's exactly what we don't want to be doing at this moment in time. So Angela's actually giving her time, right? So below this video, there will be a link where you can actually book a call with Angela for an hour. And you can go through what you're going through, and Angela will start helping and giving you some practical tips and advice. Now, obviously, Angela is coming back into the coaching world because for her, this is her purpose now. She feels she can do some good to help folks that are struggling with this stuff. And if you want to go ahead and do more with Angela, there will be consideration to be shown for her time to do what she needs to do with you. And that's obviously between you guys to agree. Now, I will say this. Angela is an ex-high ticket coach, okay? Used to be thousands that she would charge for this stuff. That's not the case anymore, because she's genuinely doing this to help people. What, like a lot of us are doing here, it's not profit that we're after, it's helping. But at the same time, there's got to be consideration for the time that we're giving, because we've all got to eat, right? While this is all going on. And
while we can still get food.
While we can still get that food, right? We need to eat. So what I'm trying to say is that Angela's not charging, she's not doing this for profit. She just needs to cover her time for doing it. So you've got an ex-pro coach who's coming back to the profession to help you folks deal with what you're going through. And I truly wish I had this when I first woke up. So if you want to speak to Angela, click the link below this video, book a call. Over to you guys in terms of what you want to do. We'll be doing more with Angela depending on the feedback of this particular video. We obviously don't know that this is going to resonate with anybody, if anyone really wants this right now. We're doing it because I know that I've gone through this, and I know that a lot of the folks that I'm speaking to are going through these things too. So hopefully you guys see the benefit of working with someone like Angela. And please leave comments below the video. If there's anything we've missed here, anything else you want us to cover, let us know. And with that, Angela, just for you, for any last words for the folks watching.
Well, I think, you know, we are in a time of really awful turmoil and so much uncertainty. And I know even in the last 24 hours, I've had 2 people that I don't know contact me and say they're really struggling and they need some help. And so what I would say is that, you know, waking up is scary and it's a shock and it's not nice really at first. But the more you start to become accustomed with those beliefs and realize the power that you actually do have, it really is liberating. And to know that the way you're feeling right now, you don't have to feel like that for much longer. You know, there is help out there. I'm delighted to help you. I know Gavin does. And so there are people that really care and want to help people at the moment. So take advantage of that and let's build a better world for all of us.
Wow, what a great ending. I completely agree and concur. Absolutely amazing. So guys, thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. The next one is going to be a bit more practical, legal remedies again, certain things we can do to turn ourselves into ghosts in the system, and certain quick remedies that don't require any sort of research. So stay tuned for that. But let us know that you like this video. Let us know that it's what you're looking for, because there's more to come. So thanks guys.